As we age, the relationship between parents and children often undergoes a subtle shift. For years, you've dedicated yourself to raising them, guiding them, and sacrificing for their well-being. But then, one day, something changes. Maybe they start ignoring your advice, dismissing your opinions, or even talking down to you. Worse still, they might make you feel like a burden, and that can be incredibly painful. If you've noticed a shift in the way your children treat you and feel disrespected, it's natural to feel frustrated, even angry. You might be tempted to remind them of everything you've done for them, the years you've put their needs before your own. However, here's the hard truth. Getting angry won't solve anything. In fact, it often makes things worse. Instead, there's a far more effective approach to regaining their respect, one that doesn't involve fighting, arguing, or harboring resentment. Today, I want to share 6 steps you can take when you feel disrespected by your children. These simple yet powerful changes in how you respond to them can completely transform the way they perceive you. Some of these may surprise you, but stick with me until the end, and you'll learn how to regain your rightful place as a respected, valued presence in their lives. Step 1. Stop chasing their approval. One of the most common mistakes parents make, especially as they get older, is trying too hard to please their children. You might go out of your way to accommodate them, say yes when you really want to say no, or put their needs ahead of your own, hoping that they'll appreciate you more. But here's the painful truth. The more you chase their approval, the less they respect you. Respect is not earned by self-sacrifice, it's earned through self-respect. If you're constantly bending over backward, giving in, and trying to keep the peace, you're teaching them that your feelings come second. Once they believe this, it's easy for them to take you for granted. I once knew a woman named Margaret. In her younger years, she was strong and independent. But as she got older, she let her children make all the decisions. She rearranged her schedule to accommodate them, kept her opinions to herself, and even ignored the way they spoke to her. She thought she was keeping the peace, but in reality, she was losing her voice. Her children stopped valuing her because they saw her as someone who would always agree, always stay silent. If you're in a similar situation, the first step isn't to demand respect, it's to stop acting as though you need it. Set boundaries. Say no when you need to. Speak your mind, even if they don't like it. When you start respecting yourself, they will start respecting you. And in time, that respect will be restored. Step 2. Lead by example. Don't argue. When your children dismiss your opinions or treat you disrespectfully, your first instinct might be to argue. You may want to remind them of everything you've done for them or demand that they listen. But arguing rarely works. When was the last time you convinced someone to respect you by fighting for it? Respect is not won through words, it's earned by the way you carry yourself. It's about your presence, the way you respond when others test your patience. If you meet disrespect with anger, you're only confirming what they already believe, that they have power over you. I once knew a man named Frank, a retired teacher who had spent his life leading a classroom with confidence. At home, though, his grown children treated him like an afterthought. They ignored his advice, dismissed his concerns, and sometimes even laughed when he tried to correct them. At first, Frank argued with them, trying to prove he deserved respect. But the more he fought, the worse things got. Then, one day, he decided to change. Instead of arguing, he started listening. He stopped trying to gain respect with words and simply carried himself like a man who already had it. He spoke calmly and with wisdom, without the need to win. Slowly, his children began to notice him again. They saw him as a man who didn't need to prove himself. If you're in a similar situation, don't fight for respect. Show them what respect looks like. Speak with confidence, treat yourself with dignity, and most importantly, never lower yourself to their level. When you hold your ground with grace, they will feel it, and in time, they'll follow your lead. Step 3. Withdraw your emotional dependence. One of the hardest lessons to learn as you age is that you can't rely on your children for emotional fulfillment. You may love them deeply and want their love and respect in return. But the moment they sense that you need them to feel valued, the dynamic shifts. People respect those who are emotionally independent. When you rely on your children for validation, affection, or attention, it puts pressure on them. Instead of feeling grateful, they may feel burdened. This often leads them to treat you with impatience or irritation. The more you chase their love, the less freely they give it. I knew a woman named Helen. She was a kind-hearted mother who had given everything for her children. But as they grew older and became busier with their own lives, Helen found herself waiting for their calls, hoping they would check in. When they didn't, she would call them instead, often too often, reminding them how much she missed them. This didn't bring them closer, it pushed them away. They started seeing her calls as an obligation. Then, Helen made a change. She stopped waiting. She focused on herself, she picked up new hobbies, went out with friends, and took care of her own happiness. Something surprising happened. Her children started calling more. They began to respect her time and saw her as someone with a fulfilling life of her own. When you stop depending on your children to fill the emotional void, they will begin to respect you more. They will admire your strength and independence, not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. Step 4. Set boundaries and enforce them. Children often lose respect for their parents when they aren't held accountable for their behavior. If you let them treat you poorly, interrupting you when you speak, dismissing your opinions, or treating your time as unimportant, they will continue to do so. Setting boundaries doesn't mean cutting them off or creating conflict. It means calmly and firmly deciding what behavior is acceptable. And more importantly, it means enforcing those boundaries when they are crossed. I once knew a man named Robert, a retired businessman who had spent his career running a company with discipline and confidence. But at home, his children started interrupting him, dismissing his concerns, and even criticizing the way he lived. At first, Robert tolerated it. He told himself it wasn't worth fighting over. But then he realized that each time he stayed silent, he was teaching them that their behavior was acceptable. One day, Robert changed his approach. When his son interrupted him, he calmly said, "I'll continue speaking when you're ready to listen." When his daughter dismissed his opinion, he replied, "You don't have to agree with me, but I expect respect." Over time, his children started listening. They realized that their father valued himself enough to demand respect, and they began to give it. Step 5. Stop giving without appreciation. One of the quickest ways to lose respect is by giving without being appreciated. As parents, we often give our time, energy, and support, even when it's not acknowledged. But when you give without receiving appreciation, you're teaching your children that your kindness is something they're entitled to. I once knew a man named George, a father who had always been generous with his children. He helped them financially, rearranged his life to accommodate their needs, and dropped everything to assist them. But instead of gratitude, he was met with complaints. His children didn't say thank you, they just expected more. When George needed help, they were too busy. Then, George made a change. He stopped overextending himself. He stopped offering help before it was asked. And he started saying no when necessary. At first, his children were frustrated, but over time, they realized that his generosity wasn't unlimited. It was a gift, not a guarantee. They started valuing his time and respecting his efforts. Step 6. Build a life outside of them. The final step in regaining your children's respect is to show them that your happiness doesn't revolve around them. If you've spent your life prioritizing your children, they may start seeing you as someone who has nothing else going on. People respect those who have their own purpose, interests, and sense of fulfillment. I knew a woman named Alana, a widow in her late 70s. After her husband passed, she poured everything into her children's lives. But instead of drawing them closer, she pushed them away. They visited less, their calls became shorter, and Alana felt more alone. Then, Alana made a change. She joined a book club, traveled with friends, and volunteered at a community center. She stopped making her children the center of her world. And something incredible happened. Her children started reaching out more. They admired her independence, and they respected her more. When you show your children that you are living a full life, one that doesn't rely on them for validation, they will start respecting you more. Not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. By following these steps, stopping the pursuit of approval, leading by example, withdrawing emotional dependence, setting boundaries, and building your own life, you'll reclaim the respect you deserve. And, in time, your children will see you as a respected and valued figure in their lives again.